Strat-O-Matic Excel Carryover League. Brought to you by the Shrimp Troll.
(1973 to 1976). Welcome back, baseball fans. The 1973-76 Carryover League. We got a fun, great, competitive series today between the Chicago White Sox and the Minnesota Twins in the American League Midwest, which is a highly competitive division. Preseason, White Sox, the number one consideration. They played in the LCS a year ago against Oakland. They retooled for another World Series or championship run. They have no noticeable weaknesses on this team. They have great starting pitching, a great bullpen. They've got a bench. They got a good starting lineup. However, this year, they've had a very difficult schedule, and they were hovering around 500. Now, the Twins were in last year ago, and they've significantly improved their team, and we're hovering near the top of this division. And they've had a lot of improvements on this team, and they had been overlooked, and a lot of ignoring the Twins, how great this team truly is. At least with an offense that's just been on fire all year, most of the time. It's a case of a team that has identified a lineup, one versus lefties, one versus righties, and that's it. There's only one other team right now in my Carryover League that can make that claim. The Big Red Machine, the Cincinnati Reds. They and the Twins are the most fun teams I have to play because I don't have to do anything. I just put the cards out there and they play great and they play winning baseball. Meanwhile, the White Sox are what we call a tinkerer team. The White Sox tinker with just about everything you could tinker with just to try and get to winning baseball of a year ago, and it's been a struggle. Let's go right into the series. Game 1, opening up in Minnesota. Bart Johnson, number 3 starter, but a lot of pressure put on him this year. With his best card, he's been very good with it, against Dave Goltz. In this one, the Twins get a run in the third, RBI single by Carew. Was that a nice series? In the 4th inning, a 2-base error by Lamar Johnson in left field leads to an unearned run, 2-zip. The White Sox get an RBI ground out by Bill Melton to make it 2-1 in the 7th. But in the bottom half of the inning, it is Tony Oliva with a 2-run blast. And it is 4-1. The White Sox rally late in this one. In the 8th inning, they get a single walk, an RBI double. And there's second and third with nobody out. And then the Twins decide a very interesting strategy here. They have switch hitter Stinson, a righty, another switch hitter. Their Twin bullpen is going to try and use the White Sox switch hitters as an advantage. Jim Crawford and Vic Albury as lefties are pretty lousy. This is the biggest weakness for the Twins. Their left-handed pitching is amongst the worst in the league. But Jim Crawford is what we call a lefty who gets righties out, which means simply that he's worse against lefties. So he comes on to face a switch hitter, making them bat right-handed, and he gets a pop-out, and a strikeout. So Jim Crawford executed an important inning as a lousy lefty to enable Bill Campbell to come on in the 9th, give up 2 singles, and still escape with a save, a 4-2 victory for the Twins. Both teams really have to operate this close to the vest as they get near the end of games in this series. You'll see this throughout. Game number 2. Game number 2, we'll just get to the final. 4-3 Twins again. This time, the final 4 outs are recorded by Tom Murphy. Tom Murphy, Bill Campbell, and the starting 3 of Blyleven, Singer, and Dave Goltz anchor the pitching. The other lefty, Jerry Garvin, isn't very good either. This is the formula the Twins are going to need this year to get as far as they can get. And just cross their fingers when somebody with a left arm throws. They win 4-3 when they get to a Jim Cott in the 3rd and 4th innings with single walk, double, and a Jim Holt homer on his own card. And the other struggle the White Sox are having is they're still not getting enough runs. The juggling of the lineups, they've tried a bunch. They've had Orta leading off. They've had Brian Downing leading off. They've had Ken Henderson leading off. You know, they've had Dick Allen batting 3rd, batting 4th. They've had Lamar Johnson batting 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Bob Stinson's led off, batted cleanup, batted 9th. I mean, they've just done everything, just trying to get offense. The good news for the White Sox is they start to get offense late in the last 2 games, but unfortunately, a loss is a loss. And you're just not scoring enough runs. You lose by 1 run here. All right. So now we go to Comiskey Park for a Game 3. And it's going to be Jerry Garvin versus Wilbur Wood. Must win for the White Sox. Incredibly significant pitching advantage. They barely win 5-4. White Sox get the win 5-4 early on. An RBI single, Bill Melton. A Ken Henderson homer makes it 2-zip. But folks, Jim Holt keeps hitting homers off of left-handed pitching. He hit a homer off of Jim Cott. He hits a homer off of Wilbur Wood. RBI single, Bobby Darwin. That's 2-2. In the 4th inning, a couple walks, RBI single, and the dreaded catcher's X wild pitch plus foul out. It makes it 4-2. The Twins actually tie it in the 7th off of Wilbur Wood with a 2-run homer by Jim Holt again. But finally, the Twins lefties would fail them as Vic Albery comes on to start an inning, the 7th. He gets an out, a walk. A walk, he gets another out, then a walk, and then another walk. 4 walks, another out. It's just 1 run. But the way it happened is 1 run with no hits. At this point, the Chi Sox, desperate for a win, bring in Gossage for a 2-inning save after Wilbur Wood had given up 2 hits in the top of the 8th inning. And Gossage, 2 strikeouts, nobody reaches. White Sox win 5-4. Gossage, a 2-inning save. White Sox, 5 runs on 4 hits, but they walked 8 times. Twins, 4 runs, 10 hits. They did not draw a walk. This is a razor-thin series. You can look at it in a couple different ways. Are the White Sox underachieving, Twins overachieving? Or maybe these 2 teams are tete-a-tete. I mean, maybe it's simply similar talent. I mean, I shouldn't really elevate the White Sox over the Twins if the Twins are going to have Rod Carew, Larry Heisel, Lyman Bostock, Phil Roof with homers on 5, 6, 7, 297 hitting Jim Holt, you know, Blyleven, Bill Singer. Like I said, this Twin team is really, really good. Game 4, we finally get a slight bit of separation in this one. Blyleven versus Jerry Bell. Now, the White Sox have a pissing disadvantage. A flip of Game 3 when it was Garvin versus Wood. Now it's Blyleven versus Jerry Bell. So, of course, once Jerry Bell gets through 5 innings, he's pulled with a lead. The other big thing the White Sox did, knowing that they really need to score a lot, as much as they could off of Blyleven, they decided to go with offense by moving George Orta to short, Dick Allen to second base. They put Bucky Dent on the bench and got an extra bat of Brian Downing and Bob Stinson. They have all their hitters in this lineup and all the defenses on the bench. Well, in the 1st inning, Ken Henderson makes a 2-base error that leads to a run. 2nd inning, Dick Allen makes an error. It didn't cost because it was a double play. 3rd inning, Dick Allen made an error and left the bases loaded. So they survived disaster, and they completed a clean defensive bill throughout the rest of the game. So this is a game where the Twins should have taken advantage of that defense, and they didn't. And the White Sox got their runs off of Blyleven in the 5th inning with 5 singles, and another couple runs in the 7th on a 2-run single by Lamar Johnson. 5-1 White Sox. We're all tied up 2 games apiece. Game 5 in Comiskey. It's Bill Singer, Wilbur Wood. You heard of Wilbur. He just pitched 2 games ago. Well, he had a day off after the 4th game, plus he pitched on 1 day's rest when Jerry Bell pitched, so that's his 2 days of rest. He comes back in a Game 5, and again, it's a 4-3 final. The White Sox slightly shuffled the lineup. Same players, different order with order at the top. Again, all defense on the bench, all offense in the lineup, at least for when they play at home. Seems to be working. They have 2 straight wins. Top of the 1st, Twins get a triple by Heisel, RBI single by Cardenas, would score on a double play, 2-0. White Sox load the bases in the 1st, don't score. A walk in the 2nd, a single in the 3rd, don't score. But in the bottom of the 4th, a single and then 2 outs, and then Bill Melton is batting 9th against right-handed pitching because the White Sox are absolutely loaded now with Bucky Dent, Coluccio, and Beckert all on the bench. And that's great news for the White Sox if Melton has to bat 9th. He doesn't care. He gets a 2-run homer. 5th inning, walk, single. They get another run in the 8th inning in a 3-3 tie. Tony Muser doubles. In this lineup configuration, lineup number 6,000 the White Sox have used this year, Bill Singer gives up a lot of walks to lefties. So all the White Sox lefties bat in the first 5. Orta, Muser, Dick Allen, Stinson, and Ken Henderson. Muser doubles in the 8th, goes to 3rd on a ground ball. Then it's Bill Singer who commits an error for an unearned run to score. He commits a 2nd error 2 batters later, which doesn't affect the scoring. It's a 4-3 lead, and once again, Wood is pulled for Gossage to get a 3-out, an easy save, a 3-out save, and that's where we're at. It's been a really tough series to play, slow-moving series, because these teams are like counter-punching and punching each other. It's a real great series. The only disappointing part of it is that the home teams won every game. I'd like to see a road win or 2 to show real greatness in Strat-O-Matic. But still, these are good baseball clubs who, when you play each other, let's look at the overall standings here. No one's ever going to get a really good 1-loss record. Here we are. So in this division, it's the Royals who are the outlier because they've been slumping terribly this year. So they're 8-13. Meanwhile, you've got the Brewers, Twins, and the White Sox all within a game of each other, but they're really just hovering around 500. As no team is able to walk away from anybody else in the American League. Look at the 1-loss records. A 2 over 500 is the best we can do on this side of the board. When we go up here, Baltimore's a +4, Expo's a +5. Meanwhile, in the National League, it's crazy because you got 5 teams are just tearing it up. Phillies, Reds, Pirates, Dodgers, Giants. Game 6 back in Minnesota. It's going to be a battle of the Game 1 starters. Bart Johnson for the White Sox. Bart, 10-game winner in 74 with a 2.73 ERA in 122 innings. He's a starter 7. They don't hook this guy early anymore. They're leaning on him now. Even with Gossage, they're trying not to overuse Gossage so much this year. And the Twins will have Dave Goltz out there. Goltz is a starter 8, 14-game winner, 3.67 ERA, 243 innings. Much better against right-handed batters. Frankly, between him and Singer, they're not that great against lefties. If the Twins were to go up against a team that had, say, 6 of the 9 hitters left-handed, Twins could be in a little bit of trouble in a postseason series. The White Sox cannot do that. They only have 4 left-handed hitters total on their team. And the other thing about the White Sox today, they're using the same lineup, back-to-back same lineups, just to see what happens, because they're on a 2-game winning streak. They haven't had the same lineup for 2 days in a row yet. So let's get started from Minnesota. White Sox Twins, 3-2 White Sox. They could move into first place if they win today. Leading off, it's George Orta. 110's a base hit. Now you have Talkin' Tony Muser. 66 off the Gold's card. Double 1 and 3 base hit. The lefties coming through. Runners on the corners for Dick Allen. Not having a great series. 610 center X. In center field, it's Bostock, a 2E5. And it's a double off of Bostock's defense in center field. Real good defense. We also saw Henderson give up a 2-base error in one of the games prior as good defensive center fielders. So it is 1-0. Second and third. Bob Stinson, 46 off of the Gold's cards, a base hit to center field. Dick Allen will hold a third. He's not in a big hurry. They finally has something going. This White Sox offense trying to get a crushing inning and get some distance in this series against this pesky Twin team. Runners in the corners, no one out. It's Ken Henderson. 2-7. It's going to be a single chance. Single 1 to 10. He gets it on a 7. That's an RBI single, and the batting lineup has finally clicked for seeming like the first time all year. And it's 3-0 White Sox before the Twin faithful can even get into their seats. First and second, no one out. Lamar Johnson. 53 off Gold's first C. You got second and third for Buddy Bradford. 39's a ground ball to short, and that will score another run. Runner at second with 2 outs for Brian Downing. 312's a walk. They'll bat around with number 9 hitter, Bill Melton. 65 off the Gold's card, flies to right field. So we had some problems with the Gold's card. The big defensive miscue by Bostock, and it's 4-0. But the Twins have been resilient all year. Can they do it again today? We love this Twin offense. Leading off, it's Rod Carew. 68 flies to center. Larry Heisel, 55, second C. And Lyman Bostock, 3-6. Let's take a look at Lyman's card. Yes, 1976, 323 average, folks. It is not a surprise at all, now that I've played these Twins so much, that they're doing so well. This is just a fun set of cards to use. And like I said, I've never had a temptation to change the lineups. 2 lineups all year, and they've been playing winning baseball all year in 24 games. 3-6 for Bostock, homer 1 to 2. It's going to be a double. And now you got Phil Roof. 3-6 is a K. All right, top of the second inning, it's going to be George Orta. 67, flies to right. Tony Muser, 2-6, double 1 to 2, base hit. He's 2 for 2. He used to bat 8th. Now they moved him up to the top of the order. We thought, Tony Muser, is he really good enough to bat second on this team? Well, that extra left-handed bat seems to be making a difference for this team. Dick Allen, 57's a K. And Bob Stinson, 69, lines the third. Bottom of 2, it's Jim Holt. 39 is a fly ball to center. Eric Soderholm, 2-9's a walk. Tony Oliva, 67 is a K. And with 2 outs, it's Bobby Darwin, 1-7 is a K. We go to the third. Ken Henderson, 33, rolls to third. Lamar Johnson, 47 is a K. Buddy Bradford, 1-3, flies to right field. Nice recovery by Dave Goltz. Is it too little too late? Dale Maxwell, 49 off Bart Johnson, short X. Now this is how you have to attack the team as they've put the good defense on the bench. Orta's a 4E32 playing out of position at shortstop, and of course it's a single. That's how quickly the game could change momentum-wise. Rod Carew, 54, center X. He's good. He's a 2E6. And he makes the catch. Both center fielders are similar in defense, and they both made one mistake in this series. Bostock's, of course, in the first inning. Larry Heisel, 1-6. Let's take a look at the Larry Heisel card of 19. 75. He hits 314. Heisel sandwiched between the 350 of Carew and the 323 of Bostock. Heisel 1-6. Homer 1-12. Double the rest. And when we look up, he misses it with a 15. So it'll be a double. And Maxville will hold a third, down 4. Second and third, White Sox will play it back. They don't want to bring it up and have a 2-run single go through them. So they'll play it back for Lyman Bostock. 56 off Bart Johnson's a K. Phil Roof. 1-5. Let's take a look at Phil Roof, the Purple Bambino. The Babe Ruth, the Bambino himself. Phil Roof's incredible 75 card. 7 homers, 126 at-bats, and a 302 average. Who is this guy? How did this happen? I'm only going to conclude, as I've said before once, I've seen this Twins channel, that he got an injury which limited his at-bats, and then somebody said, hey, Phil, if you fake the injury the rest of the season, you'll have a great Strat-O-Matic card. Because the more you play, you're going to end up hitting 241 and not hit another homer. Any event, 1-5, 3-1 bomb, and your Twinkies are back in the game, 4-3. I'm telling you, folks, these teams are destined for a long series. 7 games or an extra inning game today or a 9th inning finish, something like that. Jim Holt, 65, second C. And that is your inning. But Phil Roof does the damage. Into the 4th, it's Brian Downing, 2-5, rounds are short. Bill Melton, 38, a base hit. He likes bad 9th. Oh, no pressure on him. He doesn't have to carry the team. He's in the lineup every day. I'll take that. I'd rather do that than be on the bench, and So there's that. George Orta, 1-4, flies to right. And Tony Muser, 59, short X. Shortstop is Dale Maxville, 2E20. Makes the play. Bottom of the 4th, Eric Soderholm, 68, lines are short. Tony Oliva, 58, second X. Again, Dick Allen, a 40-41 at second base, and that's going to be an error. So you see, this is the problem you get in when you do this ramp up. It's almost like a move of desperation. You just stop playing fundamental baseball because you're trying to score so many runs. And they got 4 right off the block. They didn't add to it. Now they're in a little bit of trouble defensively. Bob Darwin, 65, pops to first. Dale Maxville, 1-6, grounds are short. We go to the 5th. It's Dick Allen. 1-6. Let's take a look at Dick Allen's card of 1973. Coming off an MVP season, 73. Pretty much was matching that, but he suffered an injury, and his season was cut short. But statistically, it's as good at, or if not better, than the card of the previous year. 1-6. Homer 1-16. It is gone. And Dick Allen and the Chi-Sox have a 5-3 lead. Bob Stinson. 5-10 is a walk. Ken Henderson. 1-6. Did we look at his card? Maybe we did. I can't remember. 1-6. Let's take a look at the Ken Henderson card. Probably the best card while a White Sox player in 1974. Probably the best card since his 1970 San Francisco card. If this guy could have just continued to use all these tools throughout the decade, my goodness, those great seasons were tent-poled around some lousy ones. Switch hitter, great range, great arm, great base stealing, base running. Your typical 5-tool guy. Good batting eye. Could draw walks. Doesn't know a lot of double plays. A lot of doubles as well. 35 doubles and 20 home runs with this card. 66 walks. What's there not to like about Ken Anderson? 1-6. Homer 1-9. It's going to be a double. Stinson holds a third. Gulch is in trouble. Started White Sox. Flipped the Twins. Back to White Sox. Second and third. No one out. Do you bring it up? Ooh, I guess you're already down a couple. You got righty, 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 righty. No, I think I'm going to play it back. I don't want to risk a 2-run single bringing the infield up. And you get a lot of strikeouts. So we'll play it back for Lamar Johnson. 65 is fly ball to shallow right field. Now, Buddy Bradford, they'll keep it back. 66 is going to be single 1-19 off the Gold's card and gets it. So now you got runners on the corners. First and third. They'll go infield up here because if you suffer a plus, you don't give up 2 runs. So they'll bring the infield up. Brian Downing. 312 is a walk, and the White Sox are clicking today. Bases loaded, 1 out for Bill Melton. Oh, he gets into way too many double plays. They're going to play it back now. 48, second X. Big moment here for Rod Carew and the Twins. He's a 2E16. And he gets the double play on Rod Carew's range of 1973, I believe, right? Yeah, he's a 2 in 73. Then he turns into a 4 in 74. And then by 77, he's playing first base. Big double play. You can't blame Melton's card. That was hit to Carew, and he turns the double play. But the White Sox have a 6-3 lead, and the White Sox should start to consider getting some defense into this game soon to help old Bart Johnson out. Bottom of the 5th. Let's pause a moment for station identification.
This is the Shrimp Trawler video channel.
Este es el canal de videos de camaroneros.
All right, and it is Rod Carew leading off. 49's a walk. Not going to steal. Down 3. Larry Heisel. 47's a strikeout on the Bart Johnson card. Lyman Bostock. 1-5 flies to center. And with 2 outs, it's Phil Ruth, the Twin offense to this point. Here's the pitch. 1-11 is a ground ball to short. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Ground ball to short A+. That is going to be a base hit because you're holding Carew on, even with 2 outs. So the ball gets through, and what would have been a double play had Carew not had, or if Carew stole a base, that would have been just would have been a ground out. But now you got runners on the corners with 2 outs, and it's Jim Holt. 46 off Bart Johnson's double 1-2, base hit ... and there are your Twins, 6-4. Runners on the corners for Eric Soderholm. 4-4 off of Bart Johnson's a double to left field. 1 run scores. Do you run Holt to tie the game? He's a 10. 11-12. You got Lamar Johnson in left field. He's going to run. He's going to score. Holt, a 10 runner, gets the +2 to turn it to 12. And you get the +3 arm of Lamar Johnson, for Pete's sakes. Maybe they should just put catcher Bob Stinson out in left field. My goodness. Anyway, it's a 2-out, 2-run double, and we got a tie game right on cue. Tony Oliva, 3-6, grounds to second base. 6-6 in Game 6. Holy smokes, folks. Batting the top of the lineup, George Orta. 45 off Gulch was pop to first. Tony Muser. Now, of course, as the game gets longer, it's going to favor the White Sox. They got a much better and deeper bullpen because they can use all 4 guys when the Twins really have only faith in the righties. Tony Muser, 67, flies to right. And Dick Allen, 2-9, he strikes out. Bottom of the 6th, it's Bobby Darwin. 2-10, grounds are short. Dale Maxvale, 1-6, is a grounder to short. And Rod Carew, been around a lot of action. It was his double play he turned defensively. He reaches on a walk, was held on to create the hold him at first base, which led to the 3 runs. 34 is rolling back to the mound. These two teams have just a couple batters apart. 2 extra batters for the White Sox through 6. 6-6 into the 7th. You got switch hitter, and then a bunch of righties for Gold. So he will continue. 58, second X. This is Carew again. 2E16. It's a single off of Carew's defense now. And now, Stinson will exit. And we'll bring our first... I guess we'll bring in Bucky Dent here. That way we know we have shortstop defense. So Bucky Dent will go pinch run and take over at shortstop. So now they have shortstop defense, the most important. And it's Ken Henderson. 210 flies to right. Now righties for Goltz. Good for him. Lamar Johnson. 211 is a 6-4-3 double play. Well, you know what there, Lamar? I think you're not going to come back out for the defense either. They'll bring in Coluccio to play left field. And now the only defense, they have Orta at second base. And Dick Allen can go to DH, Musert first. So they have proved all their defense. The only remaining change is to bring in Glenn Becker for Orta if they choose to do so. But right now they're going to keep Orta in the game, of course. As it's 6-6. In the bottom of the 7th, Bart Johnson will continue. As he hasn't given up a lot. I'd like to lean on this guy, particularly against the righty Heisel. And then if he reaches, then we'll think of, should we go Forster? But before we even do that, let's get back to the 7th inning stretch music here. We have been enjoying the Superfly soundtrack from 1972, the deluxe edition. Little Child, Running Wild, Pusher Man, Freddy's Dead, Superfly, and a bunch of reissues, some the commercial radio dubs, radio spots, an interview with Curtis Mayfield at the end of this. 25th anniversary, came out in the early or late 90s. Excellent collection there. Bottom of the 7th, 6-6 in Minnesota. Bart Johnson will take the mound, and he'll face Larry Heisel. 39 is a fly to left. Bostock. 56 is a K, and with 2 outs, it's Phil Roof. 54 pops to second base. We go to the 8th. Now, it's Goltz breaking inning, but you got righty. So, he probably will not pitch to George Orta. Is how we'll play this in a 6-6 tie. Again, a lot of runs these pitchers have given up. But they haven't, it happened early and in the middle. But they're just going to keep what could be a long extra inning game going by saving the bullpens presently. So it'll be Buddy Bradford in the top of the 8th. 4-4 flies to right. Ryan Downing. 48, second X. It's Carew again. 2E16 makes the play. And with 2 outs, Bill Melton. 36 is a walk. And back up top to Orta. With Musser following him. And I think we'll go to Vic Albery. So that'll do it for 7 2/3 for Goltz. That base runner would be charged to him if he scores. It would be a defeat. And the Twins will go to Vic Albery. And you'll see he's not particularly good. He is 6-7 with a 4.53 ERA and 135 innings. But he's the lefty who gets lefties out, which means he's much worse against righties, as we like to say. And Jim Crawford, if were he to appear, would be just the opposite, which is why Crawford is not facing the lefties. Crawford would be facing the switch hitters, at least in this particular series. So Albery in the 8th, George Orta, and Orta's thinking, do I really have to come out for this guy? For Glenn Beckert? And I'm like, nope, I'm going to keep Orta around. I don't know how long this game's going to go. So Orta will swing away here. Here's the pitch. 66 is a K. Now, that could have been a mistake because you pinch hit the righty Beckert, he draws a walk. So, bottom of the 8th, Bart Johnson. You got Holt, Soderholm, Oliva. I think I'm going to pull Bart after 7 strong because we got to deal with these lefties. I like Forster to go through these lefties one complete time before we make our next move. So, Terry Forster will come on in the 8th inning. Forster, obviously a lot better than Albury. 7-8 with a 3.63 ERA and 134 innings and 74. Exclusively a reliever. Prior to that, he was a relief starter or starter relief. Really good against lefties now. And he will face Jim Holt. Before he steps into the box, let's take a look at Jim Holt's card because it's happened 3 times in this series. 3-6, homer 1 in 19 double. He did it twice against Cott and once against Wilbur Wood. Can he touch up the third lefty on the White Sox? Terry Forster in this at-bat. Here's the pitch, Jim Holt. 210 is a base hit. Twins had the lead run on for Eric Soderholm. 57's a K. Now Tony Oliva. Let's take a look at Tony because he hits lefties much better than righties. Probably always did. His legs are gone now. Had an injury in 72. Comes back in 73. It's 291, one of the better DHs in the American League. Can't run anymore. He's an East Steeler, 1-8 runner. But he can still stroke it, folks. Here's the pitch to Tony Oliva. 65 off Forster is a K. And with 2 outs, it's Bobby Darwin. 2-7 to base hit to left field. Holt will not get thrown out of third base. And it's Dale Maxwell or a pinch hitter. Interesting move. You go Chico Cardenas. He can't hit righties at all. And they'll go to, that's not going to work. They'll go to Gossage or somebody else. I think you have to go with Steve Bry here as a pinch hitter. Bry, let's take a look at the Steve Bry card. This actual card was on the White Sox a year ago as they took him away from the Twins farm system for a year. And then he was part of the Jim Cott trade this past offseason. They sent the rights to Carlos May and Steve Bry to the Twins for Jim Cott. Twins weren't even interested in Carlos May, who wound up playing for Ohio Players franchise. But a nice Steve Bry card, much better against lefties. You got Carew next. It doesn't really matter lefty righties for him. And then Heisel Bostock. Forster. Oh boy. Now I gotta put this fire out. I'm not gonna let Forster pitch to this guy. So he'll leave after the two outs, then 2 men on base. I think I'm just gonna go Gossage. In the tie game, he's a relief for. They're going Gossage now because they want to get Bry out, and they would prefer to pitch to Carew with the bases empty in the next inning. So Gossage will come on in the 8th with 2 on and 2 outs and try to get Steve Bry out here. Oh, let's give you the Gossage's stats anyway. 9-8 with a $1.64 ERA and 142 innings. He came in with this card a year ago. He had already had a card in 72, 3-4, but they weren't very good. Came in with this card a year ago, and he was the Fireman of the Year, and a big reason why the White Sox made it all the way to the League Championship Series. Hasn't been as sharp this year. He has a loss already. But a big moment here for Gossage and the White Sox as they try and get closer to first in the American League Midwest. Here's the pitch to Steve Bry. 33, misses the column and grounds the third. Now they have to decide where do you want to put Chico Cardenas at shortstop. I guess you put him in that same exact spot. Your choices would be to put him in Oliva's spot or Darwin's spot. You might as well put him in Bry's spot because Gossage is, of course, not going to go anywhere. 6-6 into the 9th. Albury will continue for the Twins. with Tony Muser leading off. 2-7 and Talking Tony has a base hit. Now you got Allen, Stinson, and blah, 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 blah. Yep. None other lefty until Orta. So Albury is no longer a value. And you have your choice of Murphy or Crawford, Murphy or Campbell here. Both very good. Both relief threes. I think I'm just going to go Murphy since we made Campbell the closer. Tom Murphy will come on in. Murphy was a Brewer in 74, 10-10 with a 1.90 ERA and 123 innings. Ended up here in Minnesota. They love him here. They have like had co-closer with Bill Campbell. So Tom Murphy comes on in the ninth. Runner on first. I have to face Dick Allen with Bucky Dent on deck, and then Henderson and Coluccio. These defensive players are coming up soon. So Allen really needs to be productive here. Here's the pitch to Dick Allen. 2-10 is a fly to center field. Now you got Bucky Dent. Could you do a one-out hit and run? You could. What's the catcher's arm? Roof's got a 0 arm. That would set up Ken Henderson with a runner in scoring position. Let's do a hit and run with Bucky Dent. Oh boy, this is going to be close. Runner has to steal on a 7. And the runner is going to be safe on an 11. So it's Tony Muser is a C. I do not hold my C's on. So it's an 11. If you got a -1 arm, he's gone down. But Roof's got a 0 arm. Bacabella's on the bench with a -1 arm. So it's a stolen base for Muser. It's one of the advantages of the C's, if you're fortunate enough to run through a hit and run, is that they're not being held on base. So you don't take the minus away. So that becomes a stolen base with Bucky Dent still in the batter's box. He's already in scoring position. I don't think a bunt is worth the trouble here. I'm going to have Bucky swing away. Here's the pitch to Bucky Dent. 48 is second X. This is Carew, 2E16. And now he goes over to third, but there's 2 outs. And it's Ken Anderson. We saw the card earlier. You could walk him and face Coluccio. And that is going to be the move. So this is the problem with bringing that defense in, is now you need some offense and you got defense. So they intentionally walk Henderson. You have runners at first and third, and now you got Bob Coluccio. Let's take a look at him. He's not very good at all versus right-handers. You have Glenn Becker on the bench, but you've run out of outfielders at that point. Becker would only come in for Orta. Coluccio for the 75 White Sox hit .202, but he's pretty good against lefties, and he's got great defense to get Lamar Johnson out of the game. Here's your pitch. Big moment here for the youngster. Here's your pitch to Bob Coluccio. 1-7 is a strikeout. Bottom of the ninth. Gossage will continue. We might have to exhaust all 4 of his innings. It'll be Rod Carew leading off. 2-5 grounds the second. Larry Heisel, 37's a K. And Lyman Bostock, 63. Pitcher X Gossage is an E30. That's not good at all. It's a single, actually, not an error. So Bostock has some speed. Do you steal? You can't take the bet out of Phil Roof's hands. Plus, Bostock could score from first on a double. He's fast enough. So Phil Roof. He has the 3-run homer, scored on a single in the 5th. We saw the card. Big moment. Phil Roof, here's the pitch. 1-7, Phil Roof does it again. A walk-off 2-run homer for Phil Roof. And the Twins win 8-6. Phil freaking Roof. 2 homers and 5 RBIs today. And the Twins tie the series 3 games apiece. Holy smokes. We'll take this to the box. Show you some stats, and then I'll get you into the results of Game 7. What a wild series this has been. Tom Murphy gets the victory. He just walked the batter and struck out a batter in the 9th. Albury gave up a hit in the 9th, but he struck out Orta in the 8th. Dave Goltz went 7 2/3, gave up 11 hits and 6 runs. Most of that in the first inning, and then just that home run by Allen on Allen's card. Not a whole lot else. 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. Gossage takes another defeat. The 2 runs, a strikeout, and the final out of the 8th inning. Forster gave up 2 hits and 2 Ks. Bart Johnson, solid start again for him. The 6 runs, a 3-run homer, 2 3-run innings, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. The Phil Roof effect. You add that to everything else the Twins have assembled. My goodness, that is a weapon. Homers on 5, 6, and 7? My goodness, that's hard to replicate that. 1009, 0108 and 2/3, 811, 612. I mean, that's like a 50 homer hitter for a full season. That's like a George Foster of 77. It's not quite as much as 56 Mantle's home runs in that column. I'm trying to think of all the guys who have of course, Mike Schmidt's homers against lefties on 5, 6, and 7. 1009, 010, 8 2/3, 811, 612, 811, 612, 5529, 2955. 6 games into the book, and we're right back where we started from when this series started. You saw heroes turn into goats, turn back into heroes in this game. Guys making great plays, but also making mistakes. And, pros and cons of all that. The great offense, then bringing in the defense, and then not having enough offense. The bullpen moves. Just everything is under a microscope with these two teams. So the White Sox are back to 11 and 12. This is where they started, a game under 500. 258 as a team, 391 ERA. Little closer dive at the net runs. They've scored 92 and given up 92. They are what they are, folks. They're just not getting as much offense as they would like, and they might be hitting reasonably well, but they're not bringing enough runners home, and enough runners are scoring against them. Whereas the Twins, at a modest 14 and 11 record, they have scored 128 runs and only given up 108. So they're plus 20 in run differential. So they can back up statistical achievement. They're hitting 296, better than the White Sox. Their ERA is 366, better than the White Sox. They clearly have demonstrated, at least through 6 games, they are better or as equal to that team. Moreover, they have sprinkled this lineup full of great hitters. Carew has 37 hits. Heisel's got 31 hits. Jim Holt's having a monster year, too. Jim Holt's 29 for 99 with 5 home runs. Pitching-wise, Blyleven's 4 and 2 for the Twins. And Gossage, if you're wondering, is 1 and 2 with 4 saves. Has given up 7 runs in 18 innings. So he was magic a year ago. He's slightly underachieving here. 7 times 9, if I may. Let's figure out this earn run average for Mr. Gossage. He's got a 3.50 ERA, so that's clearly not going to be good enough if the White Sox want to get where they want to get to. Mike Garman has not given up a run. Forster's only given up 1 run. Bonson's hardly pitched as the long man. Jim Cott's 3 and 2. Bart Johnson's 15 runs in 33 innings. So we will have a Game 7 in Minnesota after the break. And it'll be Bird Blyleven. He on 3 days rest. And he will be hosting Jim Cott. Can't get better than that. Former Twin, the guy they went out and got in the offseason, facing his old team. Jim Cott versus Bly11 in Game 7. We'll give you that result coming up, so stick around. All right, folks, here's a box score of Game 6 you just saw, where the Twins walked it off 8-6. Golds went 7 2/3, 11 hits, 6 runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts, no decision. Albury got the final out in the 8th, but then Tom Murphy walked and struck out a batter in the 9th to collect the victory. Gossage gave up 2 earned runs and one on the walk-off with an inning pitched. Bart Johnson, 7 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs. So let's show you what happens in game number 7. It's Jim Cott versus Bly11. And early in this one, in the 3rd inning, Dick Allen's having a nice day. He singled in the 1st. In the 3rd inning, an RBI double and a home run chance. Could have been a 2-run homer, is an RBI double. But Jim Cott would struggle against his former team, who is playing consistent small ball. This is something the Twins have been doing a lot this year that the White Sox have not been doing nearly enough. That's just consecutive hits and walks in an inning. A single, a stolen base by the speedy Heisel, a single, a stolen base by Carew, a single by Darwin and Oliva, there's a couple runs. 5th inning, single, walk, single, RBI ground out, and a 2-out, 2-run single by Eric Soderholm, future White Sox player, and that's 6 runs. And that's all Bert Bly11 needs, plus he has no problem, and this is the worst output of the series for the Chi Sox, just a run off Bert Bly11. And somewhat lacking the melodrama, it's an easy win for the Twins in a Game 7. They are victorious 7-1, which means that the home team won all 7 games. Not crazy fan of that, because there's nothing the White Sox could do except if these two teams play again in the postseason tournament, if they finish, say, 1st and 2nd, White Sox would have home field in that series. But 1009, 0108, 714, 15. White Sox put 6 men on base. Twins put 15 men on base. Let's revisit the stats as it leans further in the Twins' direction. You know, Gossage's struggles are real, folks. 18 and again 7. Cott's struggles are now 3-3. 47 innings, he's given up 26 runs. So his ERA is over 5, and he's got a 500 record. So was the trade worth it to get Jim Cott? Right now, it doesn't look very good. They could have put a lefty in the bullpen and put Stan Bonson in the rotation. Bonson's actually only pitched 10 innings this year, giving up 4 runs. But the Twins, 299 now, after getting 14 hits in that game. And Bly11's 5-2, 6 complete games, 25 runs in 67 innings. Let's take a deeper dive into that ERA. And Bly11 might be going to an all-star game. He hasn't been to one, and since I can remember, because the Twins have struggled to give him wins previously, but not this year. It's all falling into place for the Twins, and by falling into place, let's look at the overall standings. It's not a significant gap or anything. There you are. I mean, they're a game and a half in front of the Brewers and 3 in front of the White Sox. In an American League where White Sox, wild card invitations are available for lots of teams who are hovering around 500, the White Sox will have to finish their last series before the All-Star break against the Brewers. And that will be very important to decide who finishes in 2nd place, with another chance to battle the Twins for the top spot in this division. Seems like the Royals could have been the only team to kind of play themselves out of a reasonable chance at a wild card. They have to go on a torrid winning streak to catch everybody else who are in that wild card hunt. So that's it today, folks. Break up your Minnesota Twins. They win another series. It's been a great year for them. They take care of the White Sox 4-3. We'll see you next time.